This video has been sponsored by Squarespace. Over the last week or so, I've learned quite a lot, not just about my Jaguar F-Type SVR, but also about the world of rebuilding cars, and everything is not quite what you'd expect. You have to be careful, really careful, because there's people out there that will take advantage of you and not necessarily do you the deal that you think you're getting. As we already know, I need plenty of parts to fix my crash damaged F-Type, and because this car has the potential to be so expensive, I've been really careful with what I'm buying to make sure, one, that it's exactly right, and two, that it's the best price I can get it for. But let me tell you, finding parts for this car still hasn't been easy, because even when I found the right thing, it turns out that it wasn't the right thing. So for example, I found this wheel and got it ordered, but again, 2 days later, that seller contacted me and told me it's a rear wheel, not a front wheel like it was advertised, so I had to cancel the order. But it's not all bad news, because I have managed to find some parts and some have been delivered, so he can get started. The first one being this MAF sensor. Now from Jaguar, this was £250, but I managed to search the part number off the one from the passenger side and find this for just £50 brand new. It's still a genuine Bosch part, so it's exactly the same thing that you'd be buying from Jaguar, just without main dealer tax, so this can go straight on the car. Not that I can do that much with it, because the wires for the MAF have all been ripped out, so I need to replace that, and also I need a Jubilee clip, which I haven't got. But progress is progress, and we're making steps in the right direction. Next up is something I'm not 100% sure on whether I just need to change one, or I need to change the pair, but I'll let you know why in just a second. To make sure I don't lose the cable from these actuators down into the abyss, I just tape it up while I'm swapping them over. Now this is the next piece. This is the BDS actuator, and, well, it shouldn't look like this. It should be sort of, well, like that. So the one on the driver's side, like one of you mentioned in the last video, it actually looks okay, so I may be able to get away with just changing this one, but we'll have to wait and see. But this one definitely needs doing, so let's change it over. After swapping over the bracket from the top of the old one to the top of the new one, I can then bolt it in with the 4 bolts that it takes to fit it and the single electrical connector, and that's the new BDS actuator installed, and hopefully the only one we have to do. Then we also need a front bumper, just like this one. This is an SVR specific part, so it's hard to find, but there was plenty of them listed on eBay, so I got one ordered. I picked this red one here. Again, this turns out it wasn't an SVR bumper, it was just listed incorrectly, so that seller has actually shipped that one, and I have not received it, and it's been like 10 days, and I've not been able to send it back to get my money back either, so I've been done over a little bit there. But essentially they've said before they can refund me, I need to send the old one, which they've shipped back, which I've not received, so I don't know what's going to happen there. And those are just the parts that I can find. There's some parts that I can't find secondhand for love nor money, so I had to go direct to the dealer for this, and I had a really good conversation with them. And I spoke to a guy called Shane at Jaguar Land Rover in York, surprisingly. He actually contacted me through Instagram, and he was super helpful with helping me find all of the bits for my car. And he was so helpful, he actually filled all of my garage up with parts after taking a large sum of money off me. And let me tell you what, I'm so happy that I spoke to him, because not only was their service great, but they actually did me a better price than what Breakers did, and to me that's taking the mickey a little bit. And this case here shows exactly why you've got to be super careful when you're buying second-hand parts, because even though you think you're getting a deal because they're off a crashed car or whatever it may be, that might not always be the case. Now I did have quite a few examples with this, but we'll use this as the first one. So here we've got bonnet hinge. That's a single hinge for £107. And it actually turned out that direct from Jaguar, these parts were a fraction of the price of that, and they come pre-unpainted, so you can paint them to your car without worrying about the paint chipping off and showing the old colour. So instead of me spending £107 on just one, in this example I think they were about £34 each, so that just made so much more sense to do that. And it actually turned out to be the case for most of these parts in here, because the Breakers seem to want more for these than what they were brand new, which I think is a little bit of a con, that some of these companies can get away with charging more for second-hand parts than what they are brand new. But times are hard, and some businesses need to do stuff like this to make money, which is the sad truth of it. But we've got a lot secured now. We've made some great progress on the parts finding, but we really need to get on with fitting some of this to the car. But just quickly, before we do that, I want to just show you my website, which I've built using Squarespace. Squarespace is the online tool to help you build and run your own website. So say for example, you're just like me and you need to try and boost your income to be able to afford more car parts. Well, with Squarespace, you can start selling products online to help you do exactly that. Squarespace's e-commerce tools make it so easy to add new items and also remove them temporarily when they're out of stock, making running your own online store a breeze. And just like me, if you've got a product which you want want to sell online, you can do with no problems because Squarespace has all the tools to help you do exactly that. So anything that you might need help with to help your website or business grow and develop, whether it be SEO, marketing tools, e-commerce, whatever it may be, Squarespace has you covered. So however you're looking to improve your online presence, make sure to do it using Squarespace and using my link in the description or discount code ChrisSlix, and that's going to save you a nice chunk of cash off your first website or domain. Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Let's get to work on the Jag. And these are the parts I'm going to start with. So the first thing we have are the two bonnet hinges. We have a new airbox bracket for the driver's side. We have a new support bracket for that for the driver's side. And then we have these two bits as well, which I've not covered yet. So this piece here replaces this one just here, if you can see that. And then this one here replaces that one there. Now the only problem with these straight away for a starting point is the ones on the car are painted and these ones are not. So they need to be colour coded to the rest of the car. But the actual finish of these parts really isn't that important because you can't see them once the car's all bolted together, and the only reason they are painted, I think, from factory is because they're kind of painted whilst it's all bolted to the car, so it's just almost like overspray more than anything else. But I want to do one better and just get them that little bit nicer, so I spray them with a few coats of Velocity Blue, followed up by some clear coat once that's dry, and the finish actually turned out pretty well considering I was spraying outside in less than ideal conditions. I think it's definitely better than what you'd have got from the factory, so we can't complain about that. But I did have to wait for these to dry so we could do some other bits first. So the first bit that we're going to change is this kind of bit here, which runs just in between the bumper and the bonnet and kind of is partially mounted by the crash bar. It's not bad, but it's not perfect, and I want to make sure this build is 100%. So rather than making this one work, we're going to replace it with a brand new part which I've just already painted. Nice. So we've got the new parts freshly painted, ready to go on, and the paint job on this isn't the best, but if you compare it to the side, which is actually okay, I'd say it's better than that. So I've definitely done it a little bit better, but you know, we won't get into that. But quickly first, I just wanted to whip off the bonnet because I thought there was a risk of damaging the new painted parts we put on when removing this. There was only 4 bolts at the bottom of each hinge which held it onto the hinges itself, and as soon as those were off, we could take them off the car. Then these hinges are also bent, so they need replacing, so 3 bolts gets those off the car too. Don't look at my hair, man. So I'm going to paint the crash bar with just some direct gloss black, because the old crash bar was satin black. I didn't want to leave this one silver because that's the colour it came, and I just thought it might look a bit B-Tech, be able to see that through the grille. So we're going to do this at least a bit nicer than the standard crash bar came, then no one can moan. I think that's going to look pretty damn good if you ask me. And there we go, one much nicer than factory crash bar. And now we can really get to work. Once those blue parts were dry, we could then start fitting them up to the car and getting everything in position ready for the new crash bar to go on. We'd already swapped off the little rubber stoppers over from the old one into the new one, and then we can start bolting it down. And there was 6 bolts holding this in place, 4 at the front from the top and then 2 at the back from the bottom. So there is the finish on old crash bar, which is not looking 10 out of 10, and there is new crash bar. That's much better. And then it was time for new crash bar to meet new home, and this then finally clamps in the rest of those parts which we just painted and fitted. There was 8 13mm which hold it to the crash cam, and then also a few 10mm which clamp in those other parts which we've just replaced. So the final bit of damaged kind of structural stuff is this bracket here, which kind of goes in between the crash cam and the inner leg, and also it holds the airbox and the headlight too, and as you can see here, it's split. It's not looking good, but we have got another one. Don't think it's supposed to be like that. And here is my freshly painted new one, which again, just look at the difference in quality there. Sometimes I amaze myself. And then I can line it up with a bit on here that's not been painted. So I haven't got the old bolts for this airbox bracket, but this one will have to do for now. I think it will just grab it enough to hold. There's one. Not a permanent thing, but just to give you an idea, it will do for now. Look at the paint job on that. Phenomenal. So just the horn left to go onto the back of the crash bar, and that pretty much finishes off the front end for the stuff that we can do in this video. But from here we can pretty much start bolting body panels back onto the car, and it will start looking more and more complete. So I'm surprised really with just those few little bits how easily it's starting to go back together. And then the final bit which went through the Slicks paint shop is the bonnet hinges. So these can go on and then we can move forward onto the next bit. So the next stage to get the car driving right is sorting out this corner of suspension. We've got some severe damage to the bottom of the hub, and also as well, with the fact the whole thing was in an impact, there's a damaged bush. I just think it's best off to change this whole corner of suspension. So this is what I've been and bought. It's a complete corner of suspension from a Jaguar F-Type SVR, so it comes with the drive shaft and everything else I'm going to need, apart from the disc and the caliper, which I've obviously already got. I bought that second hand because it did work out quite a bit better than buying all the parts new from Jag, and it should be pretty simple then just swapping that over from that one. Should just be 10 or so bolts and we should be able to get that changed over, and then the car should actually drive alright. So it should in theory just be a nice simple case of take this one off, transfer over the disc and the caliper and fit this one up. But already we've noticed that there's a problem with this drop link here and that's seen better days. So we're just going to take that off and leave it off for now and put a new one of those in later when I eventually get one. It sounds like it should be so easy, but I'm sure there's going to be something to make it hard work. So the first thing that we have to do in order to get this off is take the brake caliper off. So that means that there's two 15s I think on the back of there, then we can get that off from the disc. Then that gives us access to the track rod end, which we have already replaced anyway because we've fitted a new steering rack. And once those are off, we can then start looking at the other lower arms and seeing exactly how those are going to come out. I don't know about you guys, but this just felt like the much better way of doing it, replacing all of these arms and hubs and uprights and everything like that. It just seems like a much safer idea to me. Now, I'm not 100% sure of the technical name of these, but a 21mm nut and bolt then released the front lower arm, and then the kind of mid-back lower arm came out with the same 21mm too. FYI, that's not supposed to do that. So this bit's a little bit awkward. We've got everything underneath undone, but up here there ain't a lot of room to play with. So we've got one bolt here and one bolt here for that upper wishbone. And well, come and take a look at how tight this is. So, ow. So just, where is it? Is that it there? Where's my finger on it?
Yeah, you can't.
Can you not see? Somewhere down there is a bolt for one of the wishbones.
Literally, you can't see it.
You can't see it.
It's complicated.
It's down there anyway, but you can see why it's a bit awkward. The good news is you only need a 19mm spanner to be able to get them off. And then once I've got that off, it's unplugged the sensor here for the shock, undo these 4 bolts, and everything should come loose. So it's got a bit of spannering to do, you know what I mean? If I drop this nut, it's not going to be a good day, let's put it that way. I'm going to have to take so much stuff out to retrieve it if I do. And there's a very high chance I'm going to do it. Oh Jesus, I'm actually nervous. I'm actually nervous. If I take this plug off here, that might make it easier. Okay, that's made it a little. I should have just done that all along. Honestly, it's not even a worry now. Here she comes. So with the final bolts coming out, we could then release the shock absorber from the car, which actually brought the rest of that complete corner of suspension with it. Mechanics! This is the main reason why I'm not just replacing the drive shaft. If you look here, the hub has actually been, well, like ripped out of itself. So that should sit in there and never come off. And as you can see, it has come off. So I just feel like it's safer to replace all of the arms, all of the suspension, just everything off a car that's not had any damage in that area, and you know that the car is going to be safe. Then it was time to refit all of the new suspension. So we tried fitting it exactly as it came off, but it didn't quite work. We actually had to remove the shock from all of that so we could fit the arms up first, because we couldn't get the bolts in for that top wishbone with the shock in place. So once we got those bolts in place, we could then slot the shock back into its sleeve and then start tightening all of the bolts for everything back up. I'm also curious what you guys think I should do with the calipers. I'm not 100% sure on the red caliper with the blue paint combo. Let me know in the comments below what colour you think I should do them. So once we'd smashed through, tightened everything back up, I then realised that we'd actually trapped the brake line for the caliper behind the track rod end when it actually needed to go around the back of it, and I was not happy about this. No! That's long. But once I'd undone the track rod end and then moved it around, everything was back where it should be, and we could get the caliper and disc refitted to the car. Well, that has absolutely ruined me. It's all sorted now. We do still need a drop link though, because the old one was no good. The new corner suspension didn't come with one, but I'm sure it's going to be relatively inexpensive, so it's not urgent. I can move the car around without it. That's absolutely fine. To get this new wheel on, it's gloss black, not grey like the other ones unfortunately, but the other ones need a refurb anyway, so I can get them all refurbed to whatever colour. And we've also got a matching tyre. It's a part worn, but it's a P0, exactly the same brand and also the same tread depth as what's on that side, so I haven't got to change both. Now, some parts I've managed to find and I've ordered and they've arrived, but other things have been a little bit more tricky. Take, for example, this rear diffuser, which I need on the car at the moment. I ordered this one, which is about half the price of what it'd be from the main dealer, but instead, I got this. This is a set of door hinges for... Hello?
Hi, is that Chris?
Yes, it is.
Hi, it's Tracy calling. It's about the skirt bumper thing. If you haven't received that by first thing Monday morning, give me a ring back on this number and ask for Tracy.
Alright, Tracy.
And I'll shed some blood.
Yeah, no worries. Right, have a good one.
Same to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was Tracy from the same company which actually shipped me these door hinges, and that seems now that my diffuser is on its way, so that was a perfectly timed win. So while we're waiting for that to arrive, let's go and take a look at some of the other bits which we've got to fit to the Jag ASAP. So earlier in this video I mentioned about that bumper that had to get cancelled because it was the wrong one that was listed incorrectly, so I have had to buy a different one, but unfortunately there was none for sale on eBay anywhere in the world apart from one in Lithuania, which was £2,000 coming with all the grills and everything, but then there'd be import duty, postage, loads of stuff on top of that, which is going to ramp the cost up to like probably £2.5 grand or over. So in this case it did definitely work out cheaper to get one brand new from Jaguar. Even though this doesn't come with all the grills, we've still got some of the grills and some of the parts available off this bumper for one side, so we only have to buy them for that side. Now that bumper was not cheap, it was about £1,100 bare, so I still need to get the grills and everything to go with it, so that definitely hurt the budget quite a lot. In this box here we have a side skirt. There was none available second hand, but I didn't think this was too badly priced at about £500 or just under actually. I thought that was pretty reasonable. That's what I'd have thought it would have been second hand, so I think that's actually okay. Then packaged up in here we have the second part of the rear diffuser. Again, this was cheaper to buy it brand new than it was second hand. There was breakers selling these for £800, painted in the wrong colour, where a gloss black one direct from Jaguar was just under that, so it made so much more sense to buy this one. So I don't want it to come across like I'm saying all breakers are bad and they're the devil, because they're definitely not. They've definitely saved my skin a few times already on this build. All I'm saying is just be careful how you spend your money and make sure you're getting as good a price as what you think you are. And then in here we've got a bunch of miscellaneous bits for the grills, we've got some foam parts for the back of the bumper, we've got a new wiring loom for the front bumper. And again, all of this was actually pretty reasonably priced. But there is some bits from Jaguar which are not reasonably priced. So take for example this dash. This is over £3,000 just for the top section, trimmed as mine is, which I am definitely not going to pay. The steering rack, which we've already changed, that was just under £3,000. And also these air boxes, I can't remember exactly, but I remember them being enough for me to say that I don't want to buy them brand new. I think they were over 500 quid. So on this wing here, there's two parts on the SVR model, and I can show you on the driver's side. So there's a plastic outer wing and then a metal inner wing. I've managed to find one of these outer wings, no problem, second-handed. It was only £100, which I think is an absolute bargain, considering they only come on an SVR. But the inner wing is a big problemo. Now there is none of these for sale anywhere in the UK second hand, and with Jaguar they're on back order indefinitely, so it may not even be possible for me to get one. Now you'd think because I live in England and Jaguar are an English company that they'd be able to get every single part with no problems. Well, unfortunately that's not the case. But if they can get one, they've told me the price, and that is £750 for that tiny bit of metal wing just there, which is absolutely ridiculous. But it may be my only option, and it may not even be an option in that because they can't get it and they've got no date on when they can get it. So at the moment the parts hunt is well and truly still on. We still need a dashboard and we still need to do something about that wing because Without that, I can't finish the car. So that could be a really big problem for me. But at least we've still got plenty to be getting on with right now. So if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit a like, hit the subscribe button if you're not already, and I'll catch you next time.